You've probably been to an air show, but I bet you haven't actually flown in an air show. We're going to talk to somebody who has in the hangar.
I used to be a well-respected member of the aviation community, and then I started flying to Cirrus, and that changed.
Oh, that was great until the engine quit.
And all of a sudden I see these explosions and these trees exploding.
I'm walking away a better pilot because of this discussion.
Welcome to this edition in the hangar. Robert Johnson, you finally make it out here to talk with us.
Good to see you, my friend.
Robert and I go way back. Robert, way back, a couple years anyway. Way back for me in aviation is 3 years. So when I was looking for my 210, I looked all over the country and come to find out you had owned this 210 two owners back and were able to give me a lot of good insight. And then once I had the plane, gave me a lot of good advice on how to fly it.
You bought a great airplane and you're flying the wings off it. So it's so fun to see that airplane and see the pictures online of the airplane. It's pretty cool.
Oh, we still need to get your son up in it again.
I'd love to. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. All right. So, Robert, what's really cool is that you just don't fly 210s and you upgraded to a 421. But more than that, you've been flying air shows in T-28s. That's an amazing thing. So let's first of all tell me about the Trojan Flyers and tell me, how you got involved in that.
Sure. About 12 years ago, a friend of mine, actually a guy who got me into flying way back when, invited me up for a ride and flying this T-28. And I said, sure. So we went up on one ride and it was a lot of fun. And he took me for another ride. We did a formation flyover. I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. And turns out the Trojan Flyers, we have two T-28s. And it's basically an equity partnership. And so he kind of gave me the soft sell and got me to buy in and got a clearance from my wife to say, can I go buy in these two T-28s? She's like, yeah, okay. Wow. And and so started flying about 12 years ago, started flying the T-28s. And it's just an absolutely amazingly fun airplane to fly.
Well, and you had me out there
We did.
one time, and you were practicing for an air show. You let me ride a backseat to that, and just the mammoth, that engine and the power that it's putting forth, and it's just an amazing thing. That's a big hunk of steel.
It's a ridiculously fun airplane. It's 1,425 horsepower radial engine, just belches smoke and gas and everything. It's an oil. It's so much fun.
All right, so when you bought in, did you instantly, now, can anybody just jump in a T-28 and fly in an air show?
Not an air show, no. In the T-28, though, it is a trainer. It was designed to take Naval and Marine Corps aviators from never having flown before through their advanced training. So it's a pretty easy airplane to fly. It's big, it's relatively complicated, but you've got to remember at the end of the day, it was designed as a trainer. So it's actually a really easy airplane to fly.
Okay, so what does go into being able to fly in air shows?
Sure. Flew the airplane for about 10 years, did a lot of aerobatics in it, did a lot of formation in it, but not at the same time and not low level and not in front of air shows. I'd been to a lot of air shows with the Trojan Flyers. I'd flown the airplanes to and from. I'd been involved in the briefs, but never again really flown in the air show except a couple times just flying around the pattern. And 2 years ago, the person who flies the second position in our formation had a medical issue and had to retire. And so our lead pilot basically looked at me, tapped me on the shoulder and said, Robert, it's your turn. And so I ended up spinning up very quickly and doing a lot more training in aerobatics and formation and air shows, and took my air show check ride. So
there's an air show check ride.
A group called ICAST, actually, it's International Council of Air Shows, actually manages the whole process of who can fly in air shows in what's called waivered airspace. And you do I have a statement of aerobatic competency with SAC card, which allows me to fly in air show airspace or waivered airspace in flying aerobatics. And so I got that summer and a half ago and did my training for that, did my initial qualification for that, and then started flying air shows that season. And I think we flew 6 air shows that season. So it was a busy year, busy summer and late fall.
How do the Trojan Flyers go about getting gigs, as it were? In my business, we call them gigs, but I don't know what you guys would.
I think air shows, gigs, that works.
Jobs,
yeah. We are paid for them. So it is, like anything else in aviation, it's a lot of networking. But primarily we go to a show called the ICAST Show, actually, in December, where pretty much all the air show acts show up and all the air shows who want to book acts show up. And it's this big shopping arena.
So it's almost like a trade show for air show.
It is a trade show. Exactly, it is. Trade show. We're trying to sell air shows, but also we talk about air show operations and safety and flying and things like that. So is
that open to the public?
No, I don't think so. I think
that
it's,
would be
you've
really
got to be
interesting
in.
to go.
It is fascinating, and I'd been a couple times before. Again, just learning about airshow operations and how to fly safely in an airshow environment as well. A lot of conversations about that. But it is also a trade show for us trying to sell our act to airshows.
Okay. Now, I do know that people will ride along in air shows and they get the backseat some things.
Actually, no,
They
not,
don't.
Not in air shows.
Okay.
We are required crew only in an air show. So what happens in an air show? It's kind of cool. Around an air show, when an air show TFR is in effect, it's called waivered airspace. That means there's certain FAA regulations that they're basically ignoring. They're waiving. So things like aerobatics below 1,500 feet. To do aerobatics like we did the other day, we were above 1,500 feet AGL to be legal. In an air show, we're down a lot lower than that, so the crowd can actually see us. Things like you can't go above 200 knots below 10,000 feet. We're waiving that one.
Well, let's go back to the altitude that you're talking about. Isn't there some kind of different levels of
Yes.
waiver? So you can go, as a pilot, you can only go so low, but as you get better, you get wavered lower and lower. What's that?
So when you get your first SAC card or Statement of Aerobatic Competency card, you start at 800 feet. So I can't do aerobatic with 800-foot card. I can't do aerobatics below 800 feet AGL. Legally, you still have to be above 1,500 in a non-air show environment, but in waivered airspace, you can do it below. You can do it at 800. Then you go to 500, then 250, then surface. I have my 500-foot card. I'll get my 250 later this year as we do some more air shows. But it's based on experience. How many air shows have you flown? And then each time to go down a level, you also do another check ride with a evaluator on the ground who will talk to you and then watch you fly as well.
Sounds like this wouldn't cost very much money at all.
Flying a 65-year-old warbird that burns about 80 gallons of gas. Yeah, well, okay.
Well, hey, but you get paid for doing the air shows.
No. We get paid, which offsets the cost of operating the airplanes, but it definitely doesn't pay
for an
them.
hour of the
Exactly.
3 days. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. What can we expect from the Trojan Flyers throughout 2019?
We've got a lot of shows booked this season already. I don't know we have booked in the Dallas area. I hope we have several booked around here. I know we usually fly Bonham at the end of the season, which is always a fun local show. But it's another great year of air shows. It's fun coming to see us, watch us. We're flying pretty unique airplanes and big old loud radials with lots of smoke and noise, and it's a fun show. So I look forward to having everybody come see us. And if anybody comes see us at an air show, come by and say, hey, I'll be the guy in the black flight suit and buy the big old gray airplanes.
A couple more things that come to mind now. First of all, do you guys only do one routine that you line up for the season, or do you have multiple routines?
We have multiple routines for weather. So we will fly,
Okay.
We have a primary routine that we practice is a two-ship routine. If the weather is low, we'll fly either a low routine or a flat routine, depending on how low the weather is. So for example, it takes about 1,500 feet for us to do a loop. So if you're starting at 500 feet, it takes 1,500 feet. You can run
So
that
you got to have
math.
ceilings that are
Exactly.
above 2,000.
Exactly. Air shows will generally fly in basic VFR. 1,003 an air show is going to fly. We can't fly our high routine in that, but we can fly a low routine in that sometimes. We also will, depending on both the airplane's ability or airplane's availability, if one's down or one's not, or our pilot's availability, we may fly a solo air show as well. So we have both our flight lead ship and myself have a solo routine as well as our two-ship formation routine as well.
In acrobatics, it's mandatory to have a parachute.
Yes.
Okay, have you ever actually jumped out of an airplane
No.
with a parachute?
Don't want to.
Since we've ridden together, I have.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't realize that.
I
Good for
went
you. Okay.
jumping out in Vegas not too long ago.
I keep talking about it. I haven't done it. And,
It was phenomenal. You know what amazed me with the parachutes? I was just thinking, sure you see them kind of like steering a little bit, but I'm thinking that's very little. That thing will fly like an airplane. I mean, you can really navigate around with the.
I think ours are old round canopies, so
yeah.
if I jump out of a T-28, it's going to be
It's going to be wherever you land.
It's going to be wherever I can get out of the airplane, and there'll probably be a few four-letter words as I'm jumping out of the airplane. It probably will not be a calm experience. So I'm hoping never to jump out of a 28.
One thing you said, I noticed when we were just practicing, you dressed up like you would
Yep.
for an air show. And I really appreciated what you said. What was the point of dressing up?
It's it's not really dressing up. It's safety.
But yeah, wearing a flight suit.
I didn't put a tutu on.
Yeah, you had a clown nose and a wig and no, you put on a flight suit even for
Yeah.
just rehearsal. And really, in a flight suit, I mean, what's the purpose? I mean, and these days There's not. It's not like it's a G suit that's gonna.
No, when I fly a T-28, I fly in full protective gearing. I fly a Nomex flight suit. I have gloves on. I have combat boots on, and I have a helmet on, and a parachute as well. And that's really it's three reasons why. Number one is to put me in the mental state that I'm not flying a 172. 172 can kill you as well, but I'm flying a 65-year-old military airplane, and you just need to make sure mentally you've got your game on, and you know what you're doing. For an air show, though, it is a costume. I'm not sure I love the term, but it is a costume in an air show. We are an air show act. We are entertainers. And so we want to look the part. We have matching flight suits, and we have team colors, et cetera. So we do want to look the part. But it is really for safety. It is, in the warbird community, there have been airplanes that have crashed and pilots who have been able to get out of their airplane because they have that extra 10 seconds that a Nomex will give you, or a helmet gives you of hitting your head, or the gloves getting out of the airplane. So it is really for safety. I will always wear my flight protective gear when I'm flying a warbird. Some pilots will, some pilots won't. I choose to. Again, primarily it's for safety.
All right. Well, Robert, thanks so much for coming on the show,
Okay.
and maybe we can have you back talk about OSH or something.
Sounds like a plan. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching. And if you like what you see, please like and share. But also leave us comments. Have you gone to an air show and seen things? Let us know. And thanks for watching In the Hangar.